Hey everyone, Brandy Heinen here, and welcome to this small piece from the Virtuoso Experience, a part called Powerful Life Principles, and we sure hope it makes a big difference for you in your personal life as well as your business life. And if you'd like to reach out to us, there's some information at the very end. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining us. Number 4, what do you do when you don't know what to do? Many years ago, a friend of mine and I were talking about this, and I said, I think there's two kinds of people. I think there's people who, when they don't know what to do, they either do something, like they just get up and try something, or probably like most, they do nothing. They get so discouraged because they don't know what to do that they do nothing at all and they sit. And so we were talking about it and joking, and I said, yeah, it's almost like they need to be an alumni of MSU. And he said, what does that stand for? And I said, we just make something up. And this was probably back in 2005 or 2006. And what was so funny about it was we joked about it and I laughed and I was talking about MSU and make stuff up. And it doesn't mean to lie, okay? So I want to be really clear here. This does not mean that you lie, that you make stuff up to get your way to manipulate. It just means come up with something and move, right? Be committed and do movement. Get through the process. Try something. Open your mouth. Say something. Your brain will kick in. I promise it really does happen. Anyway, around 2007 or 2008, so somewhere about a year to 18 months after I had this discussion with a friend of mine and I was playing around with MSU, I was in Lansing, Michigan, and I was teaching a 20-hour continuing education class. And of course, as it was, I was flying places and getting off a plane and getting to a hotel or having dinner and then getting up the next morning and speaking. And it just didn't hit me until I went to dinner that night and I see all this stuff, MSU all over the place. And then, of course, I realized that Lansing is the home of Michigan State. So I brought back a bumper sticker and a little pin and a keychain that I still have today to remind me about MSU. What I want you to understand is there's a true reality, right, about fear and self-doubt. When we don't know what to do, many of us are afraid, so we don't do anything. So I have a little formula here for you. Number 1, understand the true reality of emotions and self-doubt, that they are present within you. Recognize that you're doubting yourself, not sure what to say, not sure what to do, or that you're afraid. It's okay to recognize that. Remember that men and women experience the same emotions, they just show it differently. I know that's true. I know sometimes, ladies, we don't think men have emotions, but they do, and they feel the same things we feel. They just show it differently than we do, right? I want to give you some quick steps to overcoming fear, and I learned this myself years ago. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how scared are you really? How much are you doubting yourself or this situation on a scale of 1 to 10? And maybe you say it's a 9. I am terrified. Or maybe you say it's a 5 or a 6. Then I'd like you to think about and write down, what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, you could fall off the cliff and die, right? If somebody says, come on out, let's go hiking in the woods, and you think, well, okay, I don't like hiking, or I don't like doing anything like that, but I'm going to go, and the worst case scenario is you fall off a cliff and die. Okay, so now that you have that knowledge, and this is the third piece, what can you do about it? What can you do to avoid the worst case scenario? Think about steps that you can take to help avoid the worst possible thing that could happen. Don't focus on it, but just be aware of it, so that in the event during your hike you come across a cliff or a path, you could say, okay, what I said I would do is I would stay calm. I would ask somebody if they've been on the trail. I would help get information. Maybe I would take a different path, whatever that is in life. So think about how scared you are. Think about the worst case scenario. Realize that that's very unlikely. And prepare your mind and your body to be ready in the event that you start feeling that anxiety, so that you know how to MSU, how to make something up to move through it. The next slide that I have here says, what are you afraid of being known as? I believe that our own internal judgments about ourselves often stop us from moving, from acting. That's when we get stuck. We don't want to be known as a jerk or a pushover or being unreasonable or inflexible or unrealistic. And I have a few other expletives I usually use about myself. For many years, I was so afraid of confrontation that I would get physically sick. I would have problems, right, in my body. I would get migraine headaches and debilitative lower back pain. And any of you that have physical things going on in your body where normally you're healthy, it's usually a result of you holding an emotion. And I was one of those people many, many years ago. And so I had to face that fear. What was I really afraid of to deal with confrontation? Well, I was afraid of being known as this hard-assed, inflexible, closed-minded biatch, right? That's the truth. That's what happened for me. And once I went through the exercise I talked about previously, where I listed how afraid am I? What is the worst case scenario? Okay, this is what people are going to say about me. And then what can I do about it? Well, I can learn how to communicate in a different way. I can learn the art and the skill of language and listening. And that's what I did. And I continue to endeavor to work on those things now. Doesn't mean like I overcame it in one fell swoop. It wasn't like it was one quick, easy thing. It's something that I continue to work on, and I've gotten better and better and better at it as the years have gone by. So I'd like you to write down 5 internal judgments you have about yourself. What are you afraid of being known as if you were to overcome your greatest fears, your greatest doubts? I want you to recognize those things and then go through that scenario. I will tell you from personal experience that this has made a significant difference in my life. I'm willing to stand up, step out, tell people who I am, not be afraid of who I am. And frankly, if I do show up in a way that I'm embarrassed or is offensive to people, then guess what? I got to take inventory. I've got to be personally responsible for that. And I have had to be. But I'll tell you what, I'm a lot better off than I was many years ago, where I was so afraid of confronting or having any kind of honest conversation with anyone that I just lived in that kind of fear and pain.